Hey there folks, people are curious as to why I measured 750 milliwatts max output power on my TBS Sixty9 when some other YouTubers have measured higher numbers above 1 watt. I don't know the answer to that, but there is one question people have asked that I do think is worth addressing, and that is whether the input voltage matters. The input voltage of this device is rated as 5.5 to 36 volts. Suffice it to say, by the way, that's my sump pump because it's raining outside. That sound you're hearing is not a toilet flushing. I'd just like to go on the record there. The output of it, this thing internally runs off of probably 3.3 volts, I assume. The actual RF IC, wherever it is, it runs off of probably 3.3 volts. So there's a voltage regulator on here that takes the input voltage, whether it's 36 volts or 5.5 volts, and steps it down to, this is probably, I don't know, this might be a piece of it here that looks like an inductor. It steps it down to 3.3 volts or whatever the internal voltage is. So there is absolutely no reason why the input voltage should affect the output power. And in fact, if you had an RF radio where the input voltage caused you to have more or less output power, that would just be a defective product. So anybody who's arguing, well, maybe the input voltage is what was causing that different number, that doesn't add up. You're just arguing that this is defective, which I don't think is true. But let's just go back and check that. Let's not make assumptions. So we've got a 6 dB attenuator here, just in case we go over 1 watt. The RF power meter is not rated to go above 1 watt. Make sure that that's correct. We got the attenuation set to 6 dB here. We're on channel race 8. You can see here. Okay, you can't see. Hang on, let me focus that. We're on channel race 8, which is 5916 megahertz. Our megahertz is set to 5900. Everything is as it should be, and we are on. Let's set the voltage. Let's set the voltage down to 6 volts. Here we go, 6 volts, and we are powering up right now. Maximum power. Okay, and we are hitting about, we just powered up, so it's going to come up at about, it came up at about 900 milliwatts, which is pretty close to the, even TBS says 1 watt maximum with perfect cooling. Well, we don't have any cooling here, and we're coming down to about 700, 800. Now, I'm going to go all the way up to, I'm going to go up as quickly as I can to show, to avoid any thermal effects. We are right now at about 30 volts, and nothing's changed. We're still having the same output power, and that is exactly what you would expect. There is no reason. The voltage regulator is taking it down to 3.3 volts internally, or maybe 5 volts, but I think it's probably 3.3. And as I change the input voltage up and down between 6 volts and 30 volts, nothing changes about the output power. It just is exactly what it is. Now, let's turn that off. I measured all of the output power of the VTX with the same attenuator, and they measured almost dead on, maybe a little high, for all of the output powers except the max power. However, since we don't seem to be going over 1 watt, let's take the attenuator out of the picture just for kicks and see what happens. Okay. All right, so now we got the attenuator out. We're at 100 milliwatts. We're reading about 130. We're at 400 milliwatts. We're reading about 400. We're at max power, and we're reading about 700, exactly as previously. So nothing's changed. All right, there you go. Just that's to the degree that this meter is accurate. Let me turn that off so we don't overheat. To the degree that this meter is accurate and useful, what we're measuring, that's just what this unit is putting out. It just is what it is. And the 25 milliwatt, 100 and 400 milliwatt are fairly close to correct. So either the max power is low for this particular unit, although I have to say TBS says it should be as much as 1 watt, but Why aren't you guys should really be questioning anybody who measured more than a watt. Because even TBS says the thing should only go up to 1 watt. So I don't know why everybody is skeptical that my result is inaccurate when it's actually in line with what the manufacturer says the device should do. But there you go.